The EU goes USB-C. The FTC investigates Microsoft. Meta to add more AI. And Samsung shows off a new refrigerator. Hey guys, welcome to No Talks Allowed. I am your host, Josh, and I had a wild adventure this week. But to explain my tales and trials, I have brought my friend Bigpod here with me today. I'm sure he's here every single episode. I think he's only missed like one.
One, yes.
Yeah, one episode, where I think I've missed more episodes than he has so far. But
Yeah.
hey, that's why we have co-hosts. So, Bigpod, first of all, it's a brand new year. It is January 2nd here in the United States. Probably about the same in Slovenia, maybe the 3rd, but by now...
It's still the 2nd.
It's still the 2nd. Well, Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Yep. And we are currently recording this at the very end of our end of the year party. This episode is being recorded live on the air. That said, you won't be able to find a VOD of it because, at this point, we have a 7-day live stream, which will not be archived by YouTube. So, sorry. But, I just want to take a moment, Bigpod, and talk to you about, like, the past 24 hours, or really, I think this is, like, stretches back, like, at least the past couple weeks for me here. Because I have been having hardware issues with the desktop computer, or at least at this point in time, we suspected hardware issues that might be stretching into something bigger. Because yesterday, when I went to go turn on my computer, I was on the computer enjoying time, and then suddenly, like, the entire graphical session froze on me. And
Really?
This was live on the air. There's probably witnesses for this. This actually happened. Well, I force rebooted my computer. Because, I had graphical session. I had working audio. But the graphical session was completely frozen solid and I couldn't do anything. And because, I'm running Wayland on GNOME, and I'm logged into the GNOME shell, I can't switch to a TTY. Because, I'm using Debian Stable, and their version of GNOME is fairly old at this point, and it still doesn't support VT switching, which I don't even think, like, the latest builds support VT switching while you're logged in. I know you can while you're in GDM, just not GNOME itself.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, when I rebooted the computer, it came up with a TUI prompt to log in. I attempted to log in my user. Completely failed. Completely.
Really?
So, I have to log in as root, which thankfully I have an unlocked root account, so I can log into it because I ran into issues before where I've locked root and felt sorry for it. So. We have root enabled on there. We were able to log into root, which is cool. So I go to investigate. Why can't I log into my own loser? Or my own user. I mean, not loser. I am a loser at this point. But anyways, it turns out that my home directory is just gone. I don't have a home directory anymore. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what happened here. And... like, first of all, why don't I have a graphical environment? Because now I know that my home directory is gone, so there's something going on there. Turns out that the GDM service is there in systemd. Systemd is trying to run it, but it can't find GDM. The binary of GDM to launch GDM. We're like, okay, so something in the package manager must have really borked because I'm running technically a not released distro. I'm running Debian, but it's been updated to Debian testing. So this is the next Debian release that's not even out yet. So technically this is beta. And so I'm going through here, and now I'm trying to find, like, the apt log file. Well, the apt log file does exist. But it's not very helpful because the last thing I see is an apt upgrade and it installed a bunch of packages. It didn't remove anything. I'm like, okay, so let's just apt install GNOME and just see what happens. Well, guess what's also missing, Bigpod?
Apt.
Exactly. So did apt auto-remove itself at some point? The log doesn't say. So we start getting a little paranoid, right? So the only bootable USB I had was NixOS. So I installed NixOS. Got to it deployed successfully onto like the base KDE image that they provide. So it installed successfully. I go to reboot the system. It launches KDE. It launches the user account that I created. But that session also randomly freezes.
Really?
Yes. So once again, we have to hard reboot the system. And this time it comes around. It can't even find it. I have the boot manager that loads up and prompts, but it can't find a kernel.
Oh.
Like, okay, this time we're going the nuclear option. Because, there's a fancy thing that you can do with NixOS. And that's where you can get a somewhat persistent configuration off of NixOS booted into a RAM disk. So, my current running solution to record this episode is rather insane because I have one persistent folder on my entire system. And that is the /nix store. As well as, the Etsy configuration.
Yeah.
And this Etsy configuration is set up to pull in all my dot files and all the packages that I want for like a running system and boots them into a RAM disk that maxes out at 60 gigabytes. And that persistent storage is on a USB 3 thumb drive. Because we think we have a dead SSD. Which it turns out that according to this long test from SmartCTL, yes, the SSD is in fact very bad.
Okay.
Very, very bad. So like, okay. So I killed another SSD Bigpod. This is like the fourth one last year.
Yeah.
I'm having terrible luck with them.
Maybe it's not the SSDs. The SSDs is the computer itself.
It might be the computer itself. So if like suddenly while we crash while we're running, it could be either a CPU issue or a memory issue. Most likely being a memory issue.
Well, I know a place where you can send your hardware. They will take it very happily.
They probably will because he needs some new hardware. That said, the shipping might get a little expensive.
Yeah, it can get expensive.
Yep. In the event that you're wondering, Bigpod is just like he wants my fancy hardware. No, that's what he's implying. But
of course.
Anyways, that is our current setup. If you're curious right now, I am currently using 17 gigabytes of memory out of the 60 gig RAM disk that I provided the system with. So it doesn't look like we're going to run out of memory soon, but I see it does steadily increase and then occasionally drop down because I'm also watching the live stream at the same time. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
And of course I'm talking to Bigpod in our Chromium tab.
That's why I use Edge. It's better on memory.
Well, you see, I'm using Chromium because I don't use Edge. Edge has very annoying setup steps that I would have to go through every single time, where Chromium is just like it launches.
Yeah.
Because,
true.
I'm running out of a RAM disk here. I don't even have a persistent home directory.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yep. But thankfully, I did pull in my SSH key, so I can upload this episode to the server. That way you can have access to it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's get into, now that we're done talking about like my current insane ideas, which by the way, the system is wicked fast. I kind of like it. I might just figure out how to always boot like this and have just persistent home. when we get a working disc. So, anyways, now to get on to like the show, right? Bigpod, there's some swingers today in the news. For one thing, and I'm sure everybody in Europe is excited to hear this.
I would say everybody in the world.
Well, I don't know about the world because, US be different because US.
Well, but it's still kind of hard to design two devices, which are basically the same device for two different markets. Like, you just go with the same device.
I mean, Honda makes 7 different versions of each model of a car, so...
Yes.
Okay,
but it's not electronics. And the only change being a plug.
That's true.
Because that also means redesign the PCB and all that. Like, it's not as easy as just swapping a plug.
Yeah. Which, if you're curious, what we're talking about is the EU has mandated that USB-C is the charger of choice.
Yeah.
For devices. Now, it specifies radio equipment. So that is equipped with a removable or embeddable rechargeable battery. That can be recharged via wired charging. Now, it does set some standards. So it says that the battery can be powered by up to 100 watts through a USB-C connection. And it's subject to additional requirements that the EU has placed on USB-C as well.
Yes.
I don't know what all those requirements are, but one thing that I can hope is that this means that we're going to get more USB-C cables that are like fully compliant with all the standards.
Well, let's be first of all, as far as I know, the 100 watts is just current one, and will likely change by 2026.
That is true. That said, I don't even know if I trust 100 watts to go through a cable that thin.
Well, you should know that like laptops charge with USB-C, and
yeah,
and even then, like the current top end of USB-C by the standard is 240. It's the full on European power, 240.
Yeah, and pushing that much power through a cable that skinny kind of concerns me because,
that's why not every cable is rated for that kind of...
Yeah.
But, like, cables themselves actually protect themselves from that if they are from reputable brands, of course.
That is true. That is true. There's a lot of cheap Chinese cables out there.
Yes. So you said that will support all the standards. So let's be first clear. There is no specific standard for USB-C what it can go through, because USB-C is a connector on a cable. You can literally put anything you want onto USB-C. You could put Ethernet on USB-C if you wanted. Nobody could stop you.
That
because
is true.
It's just a connector and a plug on a device. You could put only power, only data. You could put literally Ethernet, video, which is already done, and any other connection type you wanted. So,
that said, it is possible for you to have a USB-C cable that is compliant with all the advertised features of USB-C, except for like the 240 watt power. I think that's like a standalone cable for that one. But you can still get like just a standard power delivery, which is about 65 or so watts, which for me that's plenty for me. But you'll still be able to get your high-speed data transmissions as well as your video transmissions as well.
Yes.
And that's really what I'm looking for in a USB-C cable. And surprisingly, it's difficult to find a cable that supports all those things.
Yes.
Because you can look at the box of a USB-C cable here in the United States, and the only thing that you can guarantee is that it supplies the 5-volt the 5-watt connection from USB 2, because all cables have to follow at least that spec.
Well, what I think is an actual problem, or what I think is actual solution, it's not that they need to be like every cable has to be fully working on all the specs. That's a wrong idea. Again, it's a cable, not a, or it's a connector, not that doesn't have a specific standard set to it on what it can go through. What it needs to have is clear markings of what are its capabilities.
Yeah, and you know what? I want that. I want that here
Yes,
in the United
I want
States.
that too. Here
Can
in Europe.
Can like the regulators here in the United States, take some inspiration from this, please? That said, there are a couple concerns. Like, what happens when the next USB standard comes around, like a USB-D?
That's why this is a directive, not a law. It can be really easily changed. And as far as I know, I'm actually not privy to the actual language. I haven't read the directive, but I've heard from few commentators and few people that it actually doesn't say USB-C itself. It says a receptacle of that is used by the industry, standardly used by industry, which currently is Type-C. But if industry decides to use something else like USB-D, everybody would have to switch to USB-D, if that ever exists.
Yeah. That said, there are some devices that are exempted, typically like your higher power devices.
Yes.
So,
for example, currently laptops are the thing that is exempt, but they are exempt up until April of 2026, I believe. So they can get they can get the high power USB-C into the to be actually stable and all that. And by that point, they will be also forced to use USB-C on all laptops, which I think it's great.
That is great. I'll be honest with you. Using the same cord to charge my phone and my laptop, game changer. Like the day that I just randomly discovered, because it wasn't documented anywhere for this product, that my laptop supports USB power or Type-C power delivery.
Yeah, USB PD.
I was excited from that, to the point where I ran off and I bought a USB Type-C charger that would actually be capable of charging my laptop.
Well, there in my background on the video, you see a plug in a electrical receptacle. That's my laptop cable. That's the only cable I use for everything. I charge my laptop with, I charge my headphones, I charge my earbuds, I charge my phone. And despite it being large, that's the only USB cable or only power brick I have to take with me when I go to travel, when I go somewhere and I know I'm going to need the power. I just grab that and throw it into a bag. I don't care which device loses power. I'm gonna be able to charge it.
Yeah, that said, secondary power plugs are still allowed. So say when you need a 500 watt charger for some god unknown reason.
Or if you want proprietary special plug, think about MagSafe.
Yeah, like MagSafe, or the dock connector for your ThinkPads, or
Surface magnetic connector.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And wireless also gets a pretty large pass as well. So wireless power delivery, which I'll be honest with you, that's never really been too impressive in my experience.
Yeah, but it is still great that a USB-C power connector has to be there. Yes. So you have to have an option of USB-C and something else, and something else. You cannot just go something else without USB-C. You have to have USB-C and something else, or just USB-C.
That said, if you buy the big expensive gaming laptop, those desktop replacement ones, you're probably not going to get enough wattage out of the USB-C charger to keep the laptop running while you're playing Crysis on it.
Maybe that's maybe a solution of having multiple cables.
Yeah. So
I remember seeing many of those laptop replacements with two power bricks, and two cables to plug in, because you had so much power requirement you had to plug in two power bricks. Same could be done for USB-C.
Preferably from two separate circuits, if you could.
Yeah. Same can be done for USB Type-C.
Yeah. So we'll see what products come out of that. Like largely, a lot of companies were actually just moving to doing this anyway because
Yeah.
it just makes sense. Because the licensing cost of just putting the Type C port on a device, pretty reasonable.
Well, and there is something else. It's not just devices that will come out. Devices that are shipping today. Any device that is shipping past December 28th must come with Type C, which means
Now that's December 28th this year or last year?
last year.
Last year.
Is
Okay.
it came in effect with December 28th, 2024, which means if you're selling a device, let's say iPhone 16 or whatever, iPhone 15 or whatever is the last one with Lightning, you ain't gonna be selling it anymore because it is selling without Type C.
That's true. Now of course, if you're a speculator, you probably don't be buying iPhones with a Lightning port. I don't know how good of an investment that's going to be.
Okay, let me correct myself. iPhone 14.
Yeah.
And iPhone SE were pulled by December 28th by Apple because of this.
Yeah, because it's not like the current model iPhone. I don't believe. I think they're up to like the 16 or 17, somewhere around there. So it just makes sense for them to just pull that in this case. But the EU is also a pretty big market, so I'm sure that Apple wasn't happy to do that.
Yeah, but it also standardizes on fast charging, this directive. So if you have fast charging, which means pulling more than 3 volts, 5 volts, 3 amps, or 15 watts, you must, as a power brick in the device, must enable the USB power delivery standard. Yay! USB PD, yay! This should ensure that that devices will properly negotiate charging rates between chargers and the brick, which is kind of nice because now you can basically fast charge on any power brick, whether it be a laptop, whether it be a phone charger, or anything.
Yeah. So on to other news. And I'm sure that there's a couple old school Linux users that know a thing or two about like what it's like to go through one of these events. But Microsoft is facing another antitrust case. Well, possibly. There is no like actual trial or case right now. But the FTC has launched a probe over Microsoft's bundling of all its services, and this is specifically towards like government contracts. So this is for like the U.S. government. But anyways, Microsoft is offering a wide range of services because they're offering the operating system, the security suite, the Microsoft Office, and the Microsoft Cloud services. So the Azure Cloud, so like your OneDrive.
Yes.
And Microsoft really wants to push OneDrive, also your web browser, but they don't mention that. But anyways, Microsoft met up with the U.S. executives back in 2021, along with a wide range of other tech startups as well. I have a couple links for what's going on here with all this, but anyways, Microsoft basically came out like cheap compared to everybody else, and so that's why the U.S. government just went with them.
Yeah.
And apparently that was enough to like get the FTC a little curious on this.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because they bundle all the stuff together, so they sell a load of stuff for what looks like very cheap.
Yeah. That said, Microsoft also has a pretty neat track record concerning vulnerabilities in their stuff as well.
Yeah, but like a lot of those like comes from the fact that Windows is most looked at.
Yep.
That's number one problem for it. Number two problem is that users tend to be users.
Yeah. So, primarily what the articles are reporting is Microsoft's issues with like the SolarWinds security issues, the bundling of Entra ID, which is formerly known as Active Directory. Apparently, they changed the name of Active Directory to Entra ID.
Incorrect. They changed Azure Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID. The
Okay.
one you install in the systems, I believe, is still called Active Directory.
I mean, it's been like 6 years since I touched Windows, so I don't know these things.
Well, I don't know either. I just remember because I use Azure.
Yeah. So, anyways, they're kind of looking into it, and the FTC is not alone in this. Like, there's a senator, and that's been a longtime critic of Microsoft itself. This one being Ron Wyden of the state of Oregon. So he's been pretty vocal about Microsoft. Possibly pulling something shady here. So, Bigpod, how big of an impact do you think it would be for like Microsoft to deal with yet another antitrust lawsuit?
I don't know. This could be huge, but since it's limited to U.S. government, I'm not sure it will be as impactful as the one that was concerning basically everybody. But it is also important to note that it doesn't actually seem that bad on the once you look at it from like 2 feet away, like you go and look big picture style, because another day companies like Amazon with web services can provide a good chunk of those services as well, and they tend to be more popular, so they aren't actually the market leader for most of that, especially cloud. They aren't market leader, they are the second when it comes to, well, one of the only ones like would be OS and authentication, so Entra ID and Windows would be the two things that I would think about with them being market leader.
Now, I have a question for you, Bigpod, relating to this, of course, because we all know that the U.S. government does make a lot of use of Red Hat.
Yes.
What is the possibility that an antitrust lawsuit being successful against Microsoft leads to the year of the Linux desktop for the U.S. government?
I don't know. Well, simple reality is we're talking about a government, which means everything takes longer, especially you have systems that are sometimes 10 years old, especially in military, where you probably can find DOS systems still. So
I know you can. The Navy put out a big report about it recently.
So I wouldn't just go and say 2025 or 2026 or 2027 when this resolves will be the next year after that will be the year of the Linux desktop, because even if this resolves and US government decides to stop using Windows, it's still gonna take a couple of years for them to actually implement it and start using something else. What the something else will be, we will see.
Well, I hope that's Red Hat. They need some more wins over there. So,
but
now,
with that,
course,
you go to another monopoly.
That is true. That is true.
But
at least it's a monopoly that would be more preferable of.
Well, I don't know if I would prefer the big blue, the IBM, to be the dominant monopoly.
Well, that is true.
We cannot just think about Red Hat. We think about the whole conglomerate that is International Business Machines.
Something like that. So, hey, Bigpod, did you know that we're a technology podcast?
Yeah.
And, of course, we have the standard issue contract where we have to talk about AI. because we talk about tech news. So of course, every now and then we have to at least mention the phrase AI, which I
Yes.
know there's going to be somebody that's listening to this completely groaning about it because I'm getting tired of it too. But this is pretty big news, Bigpod. Do you know what the heck Meta's doing right now?
I know they're trying to bring the metaverse to the world, but not much else. Like their glasses are a thing, and that's about it.
Well, what if I told you it gets a lot worse than just the metaverse?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why
Yes,
do I have
really.
a feeling it's something completely out of sci-fi insanity?
Well, what if I told you that the next time you log into your Facebook account, you might just wind up getting in conversations with AI and not even know it? But so once you find out that they're AI, you log out of Facebook. So then you log into Instagram. You look at your Instagram feed that's fed with images generated by AI, posted by AI, which looks very much like a normal profile.
Oh no. There are two problems I see here. First one is that's actually really bad for engagement in the long term. But second one, which is far more scarier, is what happens when two AIs start interacting with each other.
Well,
How long
apparently-
will it take to go and have secret language and start doing things that we can't even comprehend of?
Yeah, now they're saying that's what their goal is, to have AI
Yes.
bots interact with each other to drive more human interaction. Now,
Oh no.
obviously Meta's been getting a lot of criticism in the US stock market because their stock prices have been trending a little bit down lately, and investors want Meta to do something cool with AI because that's what investors want in the US right now.
Yep.
So and what is Meta going to do with an AI? Well, I mean, they made Llama, I believe, which is an open source AI model, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool of them to open source it. But uh they're a social networking company. They don't
Yeah.
really do anything else, really.
Yeah.
So, and they want Facebook to be cool again. They want Instagram to be cooler than it is now. So, so the only way that they can see it is to draw more engagement to those platforms.
Well, now there's gonna be even more AI ladies on Instagram. Yay!
Yeah, AI ladies that were totally not there before, but they're there now, and I can't tell you how many AI ladies have sent me private messages on Facebook and try to offer me some pornographic images of themselves in an attempt to get pornographic images of me so they can attempt to exploit me of money. That is totally a thing that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it won't be that bad,
It will
but
be worse.
it'll still be pretty bad because it could be that random person that you're having this amazing conversation with might not be a real person after all.
Yes.
So that's the AI news of the week, and we are recording this on the 2nd of January. Next week begins the Consumer Electronics Show. So next week's podcast might be a little interesting. We might pull a couple links out of that, but we got a teaser. We got an early teaser from Samsung. They introduced a new fridge because we want to talk about this refrigerator because Bigpod and I, we were kind of questioning this a little bit and kind of nerding out a little bit about this too. We were like Googling things and all that. So Samsung revealed this brand new refrigerator that introduces a hybrid cooling technology. Now,
Yeah.
how a standard refrigerator uses is an air conditioning compressor, essentially, and it pumps that creates a vacuum on a closed loop system that has like this gas that absorbs the heat in it. And it just cycles through this through all the pipes, and that's how this pump works. Well, Samsung says that that's not enough, so they're going to add Peltier modules to the refrigerator as well. So that way, when you take your pot of boiling water and you stick it in your freezer because you want some ice, those Peltier coolers can kick in as well and help the AC compressor. At least that's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying, even though I highly doubt that's how it's gonna work.
Yeah. So this might just be one of those many products that show up as a concept only in CES. But it led Bigpod and I to doing some Googling and figuring out how quickly a Peltier thermoelectric cooler can, cool down something. And it turns out that it can boil it can freeze a liter of room temperature water in about an hour, which is roughly equal to a refrigerator.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah. So
but
I don't know how much help it will be.
I guess this would be more for those times that normally you would hear like your compressor kick in very loudly. It could probably cover those spikes, like you opening the door and stuff like that, because Peltier coolers are solid state and are completely silent, which means like they could probably cover the cooling or the heating of the insides when you open the door or something like that, for those kind of cases where normally you would hear the compressor kick in and start doing quite a bit of work. It might actually be able to like cover those like short bursts very well, but not you putting in a bowl of water or something like that.
That's true. Lighted, believe it or not, it has been speculated and kind of proven in some studies that if you boil the pot of water first before you toss it into the freezer, it tends to cool down faster.
Yes. Hot water will cool faster than cold water.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's talk about like our end of the year party. So, at the end of this episode, we will have been live for 7 days and almost 3 hours.
Yep.
Now, in the event you guys are curious as to the machine that we are using to power this stream, we're not using any fancy web service or anything because, we like to do things the hard way. We are currently using a System 76 laptop that powers this entire stream. And this laptop is the same laptop that I bought brand new back in 2019. It's a System 76 Lemur Pro. It is equipped with the amazingly powerful Intel i5 1021 OU, which is the cheap processor option. Because it's either the
10,210U. Yes, it's a cheap CPU of 10th generation.
Yeah, that said, it was the cheaper one because the only other option was the i7, and I just want to pay for the i7 because it's a laptop. I don't do like actual development on my laptop. But anyways, this machine is made by the U.S. company System 76, and it has been powering this stream the entire time, and it's been about as good as we could have possibly expected because first of all, the network connection for this laptop is a $2. I'm not kidding, $2 USB3 Network Adapter. It doesn't even have a brand name on it, but it's gigabit, so it's working. And we've had some issues relating more to the software than like the actual hardware.
Yeah.
But overall, our average bitrate has been just about spot on 3,700 kilobits per second, which it's greater than the minimum value that I set of 3,500. So it's better than I expected. But I set a minimum of 3,500 with a maximum of 6,500. So yeah. And it's been pushing the stream the entire time at 1080p at 30 FPS if you're curious as to why the bitrate was so low overall, the system has been running on the warm side because, it's a laptop. The cooling's not the most efficient thing to begin with anyway. And I've had I overrode the fans to be running at 100% in the firmware the entire time. So it's been averaging 80 degrees Celsius on all the cores. So it's running a little hot, but overall it only dropped 7% of frames.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the technical document for this laptop in the show notes that you can find. And I think that overall it's worked better than expected. I mean, it could be better. I could have built a proper desktop system to run the stream and everything, but I ran into some funding issues in the last month of the year relating to work shutdowns and all that. But that's a personal problem more than anything else. But and we had a lot of engagement in the chat throughout the course of the entire stream. I have this window that's been open on this machine, this wonderful machine here beside me. That's not my desktop, because my desktop's been nothing but problematic, and it's got a very long history in the chat.
Yeah.
And I personally had a lot of fun with this adventure.
Bigpod. Me too.
Yeah. Because I learned just how cool the Sunshine is, which is a remote desktop sharing application intended for video games, but it also works for desktop capture as well.
Yep.
Which I found cool and exciting. And if you're curious on that, we'll have a link to Sunshine in the description down below. It's basically just it's the server side. Your client is going to be called Moonlight, because you can't have you can't have a little bit of light without a little bit of darkness. So yin and yang, sunshine, moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got that there. I'm sure that Bigpod did a little bit of work with C#, and at one point during the stream, I was seriously considering doing a Gen 2 installation, but instead we decided that we were going to attempt to take Hannah Montana Linux and update it all the way to a current version of Ubuntu, which failed miserably. But we managed to keep the KDE theme going all the way up until Ubuntu 12.04, and then it broke after that.
Well, I am more impressed with the technical side of it, and I can assure you that if and when we do the next one, it's gonna be better.
It's going to be better, because we've already been discussing new solutions for handling the stream, because we had to mess around with a couple things. Right now we're actually just capturing the browser sources of our conferencing software that we use, which is called Video Ninja, video.ninja. I'm also going to have a link for that in the description if I remember to put it there.
Yeah.
It's a really cool conferencing software targeted more or less for podcasts, which
podcasts and streamers
works for us. So that's how we're doing it today. But previously we were messing around with a plugin for OBS called OBS Teleport, which works for me but doesn't work for Bigpod, because I guess there's just not enough bandwidth between Bigpod and the streaming computer for Teleport to actually function. But it worked relatively well for me. And I also need to come up with a more useful OBS config for a setup like that, because I had to change a lot of things with how I configure OBS usually.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you have watched the stream at all, or you're listening to this episode after and you missed the stream at all, you want to talk about some of the things that we ran into, you can always send us an email. That is contact@tuckspace.com. And if you want to hang out with the growing active community on our Discord server, we have a link for that in the description as well. So go down there, click the link, join the Discord server, assuming that you have a Discord account, or you can just send us an email. And if you would like to make our product better for next year, because if we're going to be doing this again at the end of the year, I had too much fun. We're going to be doing it again.
Me too.
Look forward to it again about Christmas time, 2025. We're going to be doing this again. And maybe we get enough people subscribing on Patreon, patreon.com/notucksallowed, to help me get better hardware to run this stream next time. Because, I am seriously due for like a desktop upgrade, I guess, because I just keep running into all these issues, which means I'm gonna have like redundant parts potentially if they turn out to be good. So we could in fact look to do this again, or even just have permanent NTA TV.
Yeah,
that is an option. I don't know if it's an option I want to do, not right now, but in the future.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to it. And of course, we during the course of this stream, we took the time. We actually have a true front page. So if you go to tuckspace.com rather than show.tuckspace.com, you can actually see a fancy new web page that gives you a link to everything that we discussed. Just in case I forget to tell you about something like, our YouTube channels, or these links right here, which are our Mastodon links. So, because, sometimes you just need to shout at us directly, Bigpod.
Yeah. Directly.
And of course, what is more direct than our social media service of choice that's not called YouTube? It's going to be the Fediverse. Yeah. So, if you don't know what these links are, these are our Fediverse IDs. So any ActivityPub enabled service. So like your Mastodon instance, your Pleromas, your Mist keys, your threads. And I even hear that there's possibilities, this is far rumors, that Blue Sky might also be interested in setting up Federation.
With the normal protocols of Federation, so that's that's Activity Pub.
Yeah.
That it's called.
Which I'm pretty excited. I would be pretty excited for that because I missed that Blue Sky invite. I don't know if I can go and make an account for Blue Sky right now. I really haven't checked.
Me neither.
I hear that a lot of people. I hear a lot of people generally like Blue Sky, so maybe I'll just make an account over there, just to have one for the future. Because Twitter's a hellhole. It really is. That said, the show does have a Twitter account. It's twitter.com/ I think we actually have @NTA on Twitter.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. So let's. I'm going to live search this right now. Do we have @NTA? No, we don't. We have @NoTalksAllowed. Okay. I'm glad that I took a moment to actually look this up. But we are there. We don't post very often, but we are there. So you can totally find us on the Twitter. I'm still not going to call it X Bigpod. I don't care if X is the proper name. It's going to be Twitter for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Crypto Bro. I know you're a big fan of the Musk, but I'm not. So, anyways, I think that's going to be a wrap for the show here, Bigpod. I need to go buy myself a hard drive. Because, it turns out that hard drives, in my experience, have been way more reliable than solid-state drives. And I hope that, Bigpod, you decide that you're going to see the light too, and eventually figure out how to boot your operating system off a RAM disk like I do, because this system is just wicked fast, and I enjoy it.
I know I can get it done if I really want it. I just don't want to do it because it's annoying.
Well, to be fair, I installed Baldur's Gate 2 on the RAM disk. Just like last night for the fun of it when I woke up in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep. So I installed Baldur's Gate 2 on the RAM disk, and the game just loaded straight into the menu immediately. It was exciting.
So the old version of Baldur's Gate, not the
old version, because I don't have a RAM disk large enough for the new version of Baldur's Gate.
You don't have a 200 gigabyte RAM disk.
Not yet, but I might be going for a memory upgrade.
Well, yeah.
All right, well, anyways, we'll see you guys later.
Goodbye.